We are back. New York City Baseball, past, present, future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-hosts of the show are Marty Rose and Robert Deininger. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good, Ralph. Good.
Good, Ralph.
How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. We've had a very interesting week, to say the least. Let's start with the negative, the New York Mets. I want Marty Rose to give an evaluation of what's going on. We had a call-up, our biggest prospect, and Marty's going to tell us about it.
Yeah, the guy we've been promised for a long time, Ahmed Rosario, the new shortstop. And, you know, from what we've seen so far, he looks very, very good in the field. Can go, goes deep in the hole. He's very fast. We've seen that on the bases. He had 2 triples in the first week. And I believe on Sunday night, last night they were on against the Dodgers. I think somebody said he was clocked at 31 miles an hour running to first base. I didn't know people could run that fast, but so he can move, and hasn't hit a lot.
Facially and his gestures, he really reminds you of a young Reyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very similar in stature. We'll see. I mean, he's already struck out 10 times. He's only hitting 182, but we've seen some positives, and it's a big step. And of course, he's just facing the last 3 games. Facing the Dodger pitching staff doesn't do much good for your batting average either for anybody, as we've seen.
Hey, hats off to those Dodgers. They are on an all-time streak. I can't remember them being this hot or anybody being this hot for this length of time. They're just absolutely running away with the NL West, and they just kicked the shit out of the Mets over the weekend. That's the
well, they did all 7 games that they played them this year.
Yeah,
they just massacred them. It wasn't even close. They teased us a little with those 3 home runs in the first inning against Hill the other day, but that was it. They ended up with 3 runs in the game. So and they gave up 8 in the meantime. So pitching's been absolutely horrible. I mean, they're next to last in the major leagues in ERA, the worst since 1962. I mean, this is just awful.
And if you talk about preseason projections for this pitching staff and hopes and Wheeler coming back and who's going to be the 5th starter if he comes back, you're going to have to option guys out, put guys in the bullpen. Injuries.
Well, I mean, 4 of their starters are still on the DL right now. So if you count Gazelman as a starter,
Yeah, and we did. He was going to be like the 5th starter.
Right, and Montero. I remember somebody saying at the beginning of the year, strutting their stuff. Gee, I wonder who the Mets' 8th starter is going to be this year. Very funny at the time, and we say, it's probably Montero if you take all these other guys into consideration. And now, Montero is probably their 4th starter at the moment, and he's been bad. He's been bad. Better than he was. I have to say, a little bit better than he was. But
what do you make of Mats? Is he always going to be Mats as we know him now?
It it appears that way. I mean, if either he's hurt, and when he's not hurt, maybe one good game out of three. Seriously, he's got a 5.77 ERA. He started 11 games, and he's given up 11 homers, 15 walks. I mean, this is not a 1.5 whip. I mean, what is this? It's terrible. Really.
And if you want to go by the really important stat for a pitcher, it really is whip. I mean, much more so than ERA, because ERA is dependent quite a bit on defense, and their defense
right, and somebody else letting your runs in also. But,
right.
But,
and hold on, keeping runners at a scoring position. They can hold on runners still.
Did you see that last night?
Orno has improved over the year minusculely, or whatever that word is, but a small amount, nevertheless. And his hitting has improved. I'll give him a little credit for stepping up over the course of the year. But you got to hold runners at a scoring position, and they can't do that. And
Matz didn't even look the runners back last night. Did you see that lead that Turner got from second base? I mean, he was halfway to third. Matz never even looked at him. It's ridiculous.
Right. And Turner joins right in with Murphy as an former second baseman in the National League who just kicks their ass every time they play him.
Yeah.
So, go figure. Let's take a deep breath and get to something positive. I think the Yankees showed a positive week, and Robert Deininger is here. Robert, give me the lowdown, my man.
Well, the start of the week was brutal. The Yankees were having their troubles knocking in runners in scoring position. I think they were batting, 171 as a team with runners in scoring position prior to the weekend. And yesterday they put up 8 runs, which was a very encouraging sign.
Judge broke out a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, he had a nice 3-run homer.
How has he handled the a mini slump? I would say he's tailed off.
Yeah,
he's gotten an incredible amount of publicity. You suppose that affects him? Does that put pressure on him?
I think if there's any pressure, it's him putting it on himself. A-Rod said pitchers are starting to adjust to him, and it's time that he now readjusts to them. And there was one game where you could tell he was frustrated. You could tell his confidence is a little rattled. But I think he'll come around. I've noticed that they're attacking him more with breaking balls earlier in the count, down in the zone instead of away. But I think, as long as he makes the adjustment, he'll be okay. He was never going to be a .330 hitter anyway.
Right. But he has dropped off, and he broke out this weekend very nicely.
Yeah, and since the All-Star break in 22 games, he's batting 182, with 5 homers and 12 RBIs. But I think, like the home run he hit the other day was, to right center field, and that's always a good sign when he starts going the other way.
Yeah, for any batter breaking out, go up the middle, go the opposite way. Pretty soon you get that stroke back, and he will. Headley having a phenomenal streak.
Yeah.
Nice. And Gardner having a terrific year. He's been solid.
He's been productive.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years in a row, though. He's given them good inning,
Yeah, and he's got 71 runs scored on the year.
Right.
And Girardi said, the only thing he cared about when it came to Gardner was score 100 runs this season. That was Girardi's main goal, was Gardner. He said everything else will be fine.
Yeah, and he's definitely pro rata for that. No question. Speak to the pitching. It's been a good, productive week overall, pitching wise.
Yeah, Sonny Gray looked very impressive in his debut. Unfortunately, the 3 errors in the first inning kind of got them behind, but overall he looked very good. You know, so I think he'll be a great addition to the Yankees rotation.
Made me smile because Oakland has one of the worst defenses they've had in years, and probably one of the worst defensives in the American League. And Gray has played behind them all year, and his first start with the Yankees, the defense lets him down. He's terrific. He's got playoff experience. He's young. That was a good move. You got to.
One of the announcers in the bullpen said the Yankees are making Gray feel right at home with the errors in the first inning.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody else noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Baseball has a funny way. The baseball gods shine down in amusing ways if you look at it. There's a lot of irony to it. As I say, I've always said baseball is a microcosm of life, and conversely, life seems to be a microcosm of baseball. So it's what we got. It's a tough year on some levels for New York baseball, but an interesting year. To have thought, getting back to the Mets and Marty, who would have predicted that 2 years in a row these injuries would have gotten? Last year was unbelievably bad, and we said going in, well, at least you know we're not going to have, just by the law of averages, we're not going to have as many injuries. And I was one early on this year when injuries continued, and it's been like 2.5 years now of day to day, everybody's day to day. I was one that said, let's take a chance. Let's not take a chance, but let's get rid of the training staff. And now there's some serious talk to that, not just by me, but are they going to make a move along those lines? Are they going to totally change the way they do things? Are they talking about that? Or are they just going to leave it to chance and say...
Yeah. I haven't heard anything officially. You know, I've heard a lot of people, including Ron Darling on the air, say things about the training staff. To tell you the truth, I have a feeling that there's going to be a major shakeup. I would not be shocked if the entire staff was changed, from the manager all the way on down, because who knows if Terry even wants to come back. Number one, we don't know if he wants to or he doesn't want to. And you know, with these younger guys coming up now, maybe it's time to promote some of the guys in the minors that know these kids a little bit better. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some major changes along those lines.
Why, tell me, Marty, how come they didn't bring up Dominic Smith at this point? What's holding that up? If they're obviously going to Rosario.
They say he's coming shortly. There's no particular reason that I know of.
Okay.
He's doing well.
I look up and Walker's playing first base yesterday, which
somebody made a joke today that they got shortstops playing every position in the infield because they had Flores playing first, and they had Reyes at second and Cabrera at third. They had at one time 4 shortstops in the infield. What is this? So
they were giving. Early on, we talked when they were giving Cabrera ground balls at third, and we were wondering what that's all about. Well, at first I thought, that they were showcasing him, trying to make him into a Ben Zobrist type player.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly has the pedigree for that. He's a hitter all the way. And he has lost a step defensively. I thought it was a good idea. Now they're talking about putting him in a utility role, extending his contract, putting him in a utility role for next year. And I think that's a terrific idea. You have a guy like that coming off the bench.
Right, they have a team option to pick him up fairly inexpensive, for next year. So I would do that. I would definitely do that because Walker is going to let Walker go
whether
away.
or not he can adjust to being a utility guy. At first, he was shocked by it. He didn't want to go to second base. They didn't explain it to him properly.
Correct.
Which I think is indicative of the way the system is. I wouldn't be surprised, like you say, if Collins isn't back. I don't think he'll go voluntarily. I don't think anybody, lifelong baseball guys, 30 jobs as managers, there are only 30 jobs out there, a chance to win it, this, that, the thing. I don't think he'll go out with that on his own. As bad
isn't his
frustrating
contract up?
As the season.
Yeah, I believe his contract is up.
Yeah, so I think he'd want to be re-signed. I don't think it'll
remains to be seen. He's getting close to 70. The travel and everything like that, it could get to you after a while.
True.
So
no question about it.
Never know, and I'm just, I don't, as of right now, I don't think they're going anywhere next year either. Just unless they make, so many good moves in the off season that it changes our opinion. But, I don't think so. Granderson's going to be gone, and Bruce. Nobody's saying anything about Bruce. Who knows how many years he's going to ask for, or whether they even want him back, whether they want to give Nimmo a chance to play all the time. I don't know what their plans are there. And,
what do people see negatively about this guy? He's a corner outfielder, of course, but he's going to hit 40 home runs. He might hit 40 home runs, certainly over 30 again. He's much better defensively than I thought he'd be.
Everybody's saying that it would be nice if they could get him to come back. But you don't know what kind of offers he's going to get, or what he's going to be asking for.
Right.
So
I don't understand why he didn't command more interest at the trading deadline.
Yeah. Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Maybe they were asking for too much. Maybe they were asking for prospects that other teams didn't want to give up for a rental.
Right. They didn't pay much for him to get him. Who's the second baseman?
And he was hurt most of this year for Cincinnati. He didn't pan out to be very much either.
Yeah. So overall, it turns out to be kind of a good deal for him because he did have although he did not do well down the stretch last year, he's had a marvelous year, and I think he would have been a guy that because he didn't demand much attention during the trade deadline, I don't know if he's going to demand that much attention as a free agent. I don't know what folks are looking for.
Yeah,
but
I'd
like to see him get him. I'd like to see them get him back. That's all.
Yeah, he's only 30, so he's got a few years left. You know, at least one more decent contract, I would think. So
you would think, especially in today's day and age, guys playing into their late 30s and what have you. Which leads us to hats off to former Met Bartolo Colon, big sexy guy. Pitches a complete game at 44 years old.
106 pitches.
Who'd have thunk about that? Hobby's coming back.
Hello. I'm sorry, I had to switch phones. My other phone died.
Oh, okay. We're talking Mets. We're going to get back to you in a second. I don't know if you heard us just pay kudos to Bartolo Colon.
Oh, yeah.
Complete games. That shocked the baseball world a little bit. That was cool.
Yeah.
On a sad note, Don Baylor.
Yeah.
Very shocking to me.
Well, he was sick for a long, long time. I didn't realize that. He said he had this multiple myeloma for 14 years. So, I mean.
Really?
Yeah, he lasted
I know he had some. I think he had some. No, that was not him. With prostate problems, but that was another first baseman with Houston that had prostate problems.
Yeah, I was looking up his stats. Baylor.
Yeah.
And in 1979, for the Angels, he was the MVP. And he played 162 games.
Whoa.
Scored 120 runs, 36 homers, 139 RBIs, batted .296, on base 321, or 371 actually, and the OPS 530 and OPS plus 901. So it was some year. 100
some year for that. And I think he holds he broke Ron Hunt's record, former New York Met, and first legitimate All-Star, 1963. Ashburn made it as an All-Star in 62, only because every team had to be represented. But Ron Hunt makes it in 60. Yeah, why? Of course, you have to have somebody from that 62 Met team. And he had a pretty decent year. He lost a lot of range by the time the Mets got him, but he gave him a good year. But Ron Hunt makes the All-Star team as the first legitimate Met, breaks the record for hit by pitches in the course of a career. And Don Baylor, who again just passed away the last few days, broke that record. And Baylor was one tough cookie. He would just come into second base like a bull, breaking up double plays. He's an old-fashioned baseball guy, managed a little bit with Colorado, and he had some Met history. He was a coach with the Mets, if I'm not mistaken.
He was
in the 80s. So rest in peace, big guy. Robert.
Yeah.
Yankee stuff. What's going on?
Yankee pitching, Ralph. Let's talk about that.
Yes, Robert.
Jaime Garcia is the first pitcher in 122 years to pitch 3 straight games with 3 different teams. I thought that was a pretty cool little record.
Oh, jeez. That's right. He got traded twice.
Yeah. I think the last guy to do it was in 1895. I think his name was Gus Wayhing with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Gus was very underrated. Merton and I saw him break in. I remember Baseball Digest came out that year with a rookie edition of who the rookies were, and he ranked very highly. He was.
Oh man! I got to say, as an outsider, though, I got to say Severino has heights of the big aces in baseball right now.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And you got Gray and Severino. You got two pitchers to build around right there. Tanaka shows signs. What is
flashes?
That guy?
Flashes. Yeah, I mean, in his last 4 games, he's 1-2, but with an ERA of 2.93. He has a great game for you, and then maybe a little shaky outing in the next. You just don't know where you're going to get start to start. But I think he has looked better in the second half, more consistent at least, in some degrees.
Right.
Girardi's
future with the Yankees. What do you think, Robert?
I'm thinking it depends on if they make the postseason or not. I really do. I mean, I don't know who you get to replace him. That's the only thing. If there's somebody you can get to replace him, then maybe Cashman and the Yankees think hard about it. But right now, I don't know.
Isn't it interesting? This is what, his 5th year?
No, he's been here, I think, since 06 or 07, something like that.
So, okay,
I'm not sure.
7 years. That his future comes down to the last few months of the season.
This is his 10th season as manager, 10th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's only made the postseason 4 times.
One way or the other, a decision should have been made a long time ago. But then again, you make decisions. You can go back to 1964 when Yogi was managing, and the Cardinals made a decision. They were going to get rid of Keane. Yankees were going to get rid of Yogi, and things turned out differently. The Yankees ended up winning the pennant. It was tough to fire Yogi. Very difficult and very subjective too, or very subjective too, as to the importance of managing and coaching, and whether or not Girardi would makes the difference, whether or not he cost them wins, whether or not he prevents losses. It's all very difficult to determine because you don't know what's going on inside the clubhouse, and that was a bit of a rant. So never know what's going to happen. If I were a betting man, I'd bet Collins was gone for next year. Would you agree, Marty?
I think so. I do.
And if I were a betting man, I would bet that Girardi is back next year. Would you agree, Robert?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Decisions beyond us. I will say this. Cashman is as good as anybody in baseball.
Yeah, sometimes I feel he doesn't get, enough credit for what he does. I mean, he makes some under the radar deals sometimes that really pan out for him.
So what was the point of sending down Montgomery?
They didn't want to go to a 6-man rotation, and plus he's approaching his pitch limit. And he's never thrown more than 140 pitches in the minors, and I think he's got about almost 120 under his belt right now.
Okay. Good.
Back to Severino, in his last 5 games, he's 4-0 with a 0.83 ERA. I mean, he has just been lights out.
Sabathia, how's he doing right now? Can they depend on him down the stretch?
Well, he's been solid. In his last 4 starts, he's 2-1 with an ERA under 4. I think you're going to get 5, 6 solid innings out of him. Every now and then there's going to be a bad outing, but overall, you know what you're going to get with him.
Right.
But I think
must say a little hats off to Ellsbury, who's shown a spark of late. Who'd have thought that one?
Yeah, he doesn't want to be sitting on that bench game after game. And, and Clint Frazier is starting to cool off a little bit. But, Ellsbury's showing a little something right now.
Beautiful. Hey, nice show, guys. This has been very informative, and I learned a lot from both of you. So I'm very appreciative of this weekly get-together. And Marty Rose, Robert Deininger, thank you. We'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel. Anything you want to close with, guys? Am I cutting you short?
Gary Sanchez. Joe sat him the last 2 games because of his defensive woes behind home plate. He leads the majors in pass balls with 12, plus he's got 10 errors on the season. And they've been working with them all year, and still he hasn't improved. And I remember talking to you about, like, Jorge Posada, how it took him 3 years before they named him the everyday catcher for the Yankees. I think it's just going to take some time with Sanchez to, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with being an everyday catcher.
Absolutely. And but they have a good reserve, too. They have a good backup, and that helps quite a bit. It'll be very interesting down the stretch. Marty, anything you want to add about the Mets?
Well, they got the Phillies next weekend, so if they, can't win any other games, they at least should be able to beat the Phillies. They got 2 games with the Texas Rangers tomorrow night and Wednesday afternoon. But they got this kid Flexen, the kid they brought up from Binghamton. He's going to make his 3rd start, and Montero on Wednesday. So lots of luck with those 2 starts.
Well, they must see something in Flexen. I mean, he
was really good in Binghamton. He was very good. So, his first game he pitched out in San Diego, and it was a long flight. He could have been tired. You never know. He was excited his first game, and then he pitches his second game in Colorado, the graveyard for pitchers. So, I think tomorrow night will be a good test to see what he's really got. So.
All right, let's look forward to that. Robert, real quick.
Yeah.
Marty mentioned being an outsider with the Yankees, and he and I certainly are. We are definitely that. You're an outsider with the Mets looking in a little bit. Give me something about the Mets that give us something about the Mets from the standpoint of an outsider that you see.
A little disappointing because with that pitching staff coming into this season, you thought, they're going to be one of the top teams in the NL East for at least years to come. And with the injuries, it's just a little disappointing, because they could be so much better than they have been.
Yeah. Harvey coming back. Who'd have thunk that we need him?
Yeah, well, he'll be back. What's one thing about all the pitchers? If they're healthy, they're all back next year because, nobody's a free agent except Salas, and I'll pack his bags for him, The rest of the guys, Harvey's got arbitration, Wheeler's got arbitration. So, I mean, they're not going to lose anybody that they don't want to lose this year. So if they come back healthy next year, you can hope for the best.
And I heard David.
Excuse me.
I heard David Wright was doing a little baseball activities this past week. and that he's looking to come back next year.
Yeah,
He's more likely to come back as the manager than he is.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah.
And I will say, before anybody really starts thinking about him seriously as a manager, that I advise against it, as I would advise any team against hiring an iconic player. The Braves with Eddie Matthews. You could think of a whole bunch of managers that were hired. They're going to be fired. Down the line, managers are hired to be fired, and it's going to be an issue. Do you fire a guy who's David Wright? Oh, God, we loved him so much as a player. This, that, and the other thing.
For a guy that's never managed, even him, if they were going to do that, they wouldn't be starting him with the big club. You know, he'd have to pay his dues somewhere.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's not happening.
I don't know, because I don't know how much of it is the carnival side of it, rather than, as with Tebow, we didn't even mention him. Tebow is a possibility of a call-up to the full. I heard that somebody mentioned, what if they called him up?
He's not on the 40-man roster, so, you know.
Right.
They'd have to chop
taking somebody off the 40-man roster at this point shouldn't be that much.
Yeah, like I said, pack Salas's bags.
Right.
And he's a free agent. He's gone. You know, what's the point? You know.
Might as well.
So it could be done if they wanted. Yeah, there's a way. There's a will, there's a way.
He's definitely going to be on the Mets AA roster next year to start the season, I believe, if he keeps hitting the way he has been.
Yeah, and I've done a turnabout. Give him a lot of respect.
Yeah.
I remember there was an article with Alderson, an extended interview with Alderson, where he, as much as admitted, this was back in early July, where he as much as admitted, we're calling him up to Brooklyn to boost the attendance. It's a big show. You know, it's fun to watch him, this, that, time of the other, but we don't think he's going to be a prospect. He said that out loud, and all of a sudden, Tebow just takes off and starts hitting, deserving the promotion. Who knew? I mean,
and they set attendance records in Columbia and St. Lucie. So.
Right. Well, I knew that was going to happen. But it's nice that, you know, getting production from the guy. So it's a legitimate thing, with it not just coming out because he played with the Jets and he was a quarterback, and people are curious about that. I've always been very impressed by athletes who can be world-class athletes in two sports. So
he's batting 273.
Whoa.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. So let's wish him luck and divine interaction. That's what it's going to take. A moment of silence. Okay, I feel much better now. Wasn't that nice? A little spirituality. Good luck, Tim. Most of all, though, good luck to you guys. We'll see you back next week. Thank you very much. Everybody out there, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, we're happy to be doing this, and we'll see you next week, guys. Adios, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.